exploring unknown tech, decoding future unicorns. Welcome to Product X, using the sharp intuition of capital and the hardcore logic of an architect to help you catch the next big event in the global tech sphere. Hello everyone, I'm Rena. You either spend a few $100s on an at-home testing kit and end up with an incomprehensible PDF report where no one tells you what prescription to take tomorrow. Or you drop $25,000 to $50,000 at a premier concierge clinic for the ultra-wealthy to get a fully customized life extension regimen, a game the middle class simply cannot afford to play. To shatter this industry pain point, a New York-based startup named Sonata officially stepped out of stealth today, announcing the completion of a $7 million seed financing round, led by top hard tech VC Lux Capital, with participation from Box Group and Sunflower Capital. The co-founders include CEO Sagan Schultz, an MD physician and the very first product manager at Linear, and technical partner David Deng, a former top 10 core engineer at Ramp who previously worked on the genomics team at Flatiron Health. They launched a $2,500 per year HSA-FSA eligible membership that includes whole genome sequencing, DNA methylation testing, 140-plus blood biomarkers, and real-time wearable synchronization, paired with dedicated licensed physicians backed by a proprietary clinical AI. Vivian, want to kick us off?
Hey Rena, hey Nolan, and hello to our audience. I'm Vivian, a senior angel investor at Pre-Angel Fund. I'm really excited to talk about this one because we've been watching the preventive healthcare space for years, and this pricing dislocation is exactly the kind of gap VCs drool over.
Nolan, your turn.
Hey everyone, I'm Nolan, a former big tech architect from Silicon Valley. When I saw they had someone from Flatiron handling their genomics pipeline, I knew this wasn't going to be your typical wrap an LLM around a PDF health startup. Happy to dig into the engineering here.
Perfect. So here's the core puzzle. Why is Lux Capital dropping millions at seed stage into a D2C membership platform? What's the commercial calculus behind that $2,500 price tag? Vivian, you first.
Yeah. So, the way I see it, the US preventive healthcare market has been completely bifurcated. On one end, you have the data-only players like Function Health and Inside Tracker. They charge around $500. Draw some blood, give you pretty charts, but there's no physician to actually write a prescription or follow up. The user experience feels like being abandoned the moment the checkup is over. On the far end sits traditional concierge medicine, $25,000 or more annually, buried in human overhead. Sonata positioned itself right in the middle at $2,500, and the magic there is using software to compress the marginal cost of a physician. By letting AI handle the heavy data sifting, one doctor can now manage 500 members instead of just 50 VIPs. Plus, the HSA-FSA eligibility is a killer weapon. All those young tech professionals in San Francisco and New York have thousands in pre-tax accounts that expire at year-end. Combined with the founders of Ramp and Linear backing them personally, their CAC is going to be driven down to near zero through word of mouth in tech circles. That's why the unit economics look so compelling.
Right. And from the engineering side, that pricing is only possible because they're not building some generic dashboard. Merging whole genome data, blood chemistry, and wrist-worn sensor streams is what we call a multimodal, high-dimensional, heterogeneous time series normalization problem. In legacy systems, a genetic report is a scanned image, blood tests are static tables, and wearable data is a chaotic API stream. Throw all that into a generic LLM and you get hallucinations, which in clinical medicine means malpractice lawsuits. David Deng from Ramp and Flatiron built a graph-based entity mapping system that doesn't evaluate biomarkers in isolation. When your blood work shows elevated fasting insulin, it automatically cross-references your polygenic risk score from WGS data while pulling recent sleep deprivation logs from your Apple Watch. That's the kind of integration that makes $2,500 economically viable.
Understood. They're essentially using software leverage to capture the asymmetric margins of legacy boutique clinics. But Nolan, anyone with medical knowledge knows that dumping WGS, DNA methylation, 140-plus blood markers, and second-by-second HRV telemetry together isn't something a standard system can digest. What kind of architecture did they build to process this cross-domain data into actionable clinical insights?
Yeah, here's where it gets really interesting. They treat the temporal evolution of epigenetic clocks as a primary axis, using state space autoregressive models to predict how micro-interventions shift a patient's aging trajectory 5 to 10 years out. And here's a detail that shows their linear-style geek aesthetic. In women's health, most longevity clinics test hormones with a random blood draw, which is physiologically meaningless. Sonata bakes cycle phase awareness algorithms into their data bus. Based on basal body temperature and wearable telemetry, the system automatically aligns progesterone and estrogen test levels to the exact day of the patient's menstrual cycle. That level of precision is something a traditional physician with paper charts simply cannot calculate accurately.
That kind of systems engineering precision is exactly why they can confidently market themselves as having genuine clinical intervention capabilities. And that touches on the biggest fear VCs have in health tech: FDA regulation and malpractice liability. If an AI makes a faulty diagnosis, who bears the liability? Sagan Schultz emphasized that the AI is only responsible for connecting scattered data dots, while the final sign-off authority for every diagnosis and prescription must remain in the hands of a licensed physician. That's what secures their business model within existing legal boundaries.
Exactly. That's the human-in-the-loop boundary anomaly control. The system doesn't generate treatment advice directly to users. The moment the AI detects an anomaly, like a patient carrying a cardiovascular risk mutation whose resting heart rate has crept up 8% alongside erratic LDL-C fluctuations, it generates a structured early warning briefing with linked medical literature and pushes it to the physician's dashboard. The doctor then initiates the clinical consultation and signs off. Once that mode is established, where AI acts as the co-pilot and the physician signs off as captain, generic health checkup startups with general-purpose LLM APIs won't stand a chance.
Incredibly thorough. So to summarize what we've uncovered, Sonata is using software engineering to compress physician marginal costs, leveraging HSA, FSA accounts to eliminate purchase friction, and building a multimodal data architecture that transforms raw biological signals into physician-ready alerts while keeping the liability boundary crystal clear. Vivian, lightning round. What's the most surprising thing about this deal?
The fact that they're doing whole genome sequencing at $2,500 total annual cost. That alone used to cost $5,000 just for the sequencing.
I'd say the cycle phase alignment for women's health. That's the kind of domain-specific detail that separates a real product from a feature list.
If you had to invest in this space, would you back Sonata or wait for a competitor?
Back Sonata now. The founder market fit is as good as it gets.
Agreed. But I'd want to see the physician retention rates after year one.
What's the biggest risk factor here?
Physician burnout. If their AI doesn't actually reduce doctor workload, the unit economics collapse.
Regulatory clarity. The FDA is still figuring out how to classify AI co-pilots in clinical workflows.
One word to describe the longevity healthcare market in 2026.
Fragmented.
Transforming.
Vivian, in one sentence, what's the key takeaway from today's discussion?
Sonata is exploiting a massive pricing void in preventive healthcare by combining software-leveraged physician scaling with HSA, FSA consumer leverage, and the technical moat from multimodal data integration makes this defensible.
Nolan?
The real innovation isn't the AI. It's the graph-based longitudinal architecture that turns raw, genomic, and wearable data into physician-actionable insights while keeping the liability boundary crystal clear through human-in-the-loop design.
Thank you both. Through Vivian's capital analysis of preventive healthcare tiered pricing and HSA, FSA consumer leverage, alongside Nolan's hardcore architectural breakdown of whole genome sequencing, DNA, methylation, epigenetics, and wearable data alignment, we clearly see that Sonata's rise represents a profound restructuring of the biomedical world by the software world. For centuries, human medicine has operated as a reactive, salvage-oriented science. Starting today, as elite software engineers converge with forward-thinking physicians, medicine is finally transforming into a data-driven, 24/7 operational, proactive defense engineering discipline that precisely debugs human life. Thanks for tuning in to Product X. See you in the next episode.